All right. Welcome back to another episode of Lawns Across America. First one in a long time, actually. So hope you guys are having a great, finish off to your season here. As I'm doing this is the beginning of November. Kind of weird time to start up a podcast again, isn't it? But one of the things I committed to myself to start next year was to do more podcasts. And I know I've probably said that before, but you guys know I'm famous for starting a series on YouTube and never finishing it, or telling you I'm going to do an update to something and never doing it, and updating things I never talk about. That's just my whole thing. But anyway, yeah, so I really want to do the podcast again. I think it's good for this time of year. I think it's a time when folks are, you still want to get some lawn care content, but maybe you don't want to have to watch it all the time. Maybe you just want to have something sit back and listen to and set strategy for next year and ponder what you can do. But also, I want to bring in some other type of content, maybe a little bit of business content, maybe a little bit of inspiring you as entrepreneurs content, and, whatever else. I don't know, just whatever else I do in my life. Maybe I want to share some of that stuff too and see how that works here during the winter. Now, we are going to have plenty of lawn care content in this podcast, and coming up after my very, very long introduction I'm going to do here, I'll have me and Brett actually sat down and we did a discussion and talked about GIE Expo and some of the things we saw there, what we liked, what we noticed, trends, things like that. And so we'll go into that a little bit later. But I'm actually in the studio here today as a Saturday, and it's early afternoon right now. It's actually cold here. We are in the low 60s, which is pretty cold for this part of Florida. I'm outside of Bradenton here. And it's pretty cold. Gray skies. Actually, it's been gray skies for 2 days. We're so spoiled here. I grew up in St. Petersburg, which is just north of here. And in St. Pete, it's called the Sunshine City because apparently, rumor has it, we have on average 361 days of sunshine a year. And I don't know if that holds true anymore, or I don't know if that might have just been some marketing thing to sell hotel rooms at one point. But we are spoiled here for sure. And so whenever I have a day like this where there's 1 or 2 days in a row where it's a little bit chilly, balmy outside, I'd even say, and gray skies, it reminds me of when I lived in Indiana. And I'm seeing this a lot too. People are starting to mention it, friends of mine and things, that you guys that live across the Midwest, even over into the East, you're into that gray sky period of time. And let me just say, and I've said this before, I feel for you. I know what that feels like to walk outside and it's light outside, but you still feel like you're inside a cave and the sky is the same color as the street. Yeah, man, those can just be tough days. And then it gets to a point where it's so cold you can't go outside anymore and you're stuck inside. We have a theory that maybe that's why there's so many restaurants and bars, bar and grills in Fargo. And I love Fargo. Those of you that have followed, you know that Fargo is my new adopted hometown. Love it there. But there are a lot of restaurants and bars, and I wonder if it's because the winter is so long and the skies are so gray for so long that there's a lot of drinking that goes on. I know that used to happen to us in Northwest Indiana. You guys know my neighbor growing up. That's Jake the lawn kid. Well, his dad, we call him the Silverback. That's Eric. He, this time of year, we would actually be down in his basement on Friday nights watching, it'd be cold up there by now, and we would be watching Gold Rush. Do you guys remember Gold Rush from the Discovery Channel? It was a Gold Rush Alaska and then Gold Rush, I don't know, South America. They did it a whole bunch of, every year you just hoped Todd Hoffman was going to hit the mother lode, and he never did, but he always managed to come back. And so it was one of those, so we would always watch that. Jim Thurber was actually my favorite character just because of his manly mustache. But we would basically have Gold Rush Fridays down in the basement. It'd be cold outside, gray skies, it'd get dark early, and we would be down. He had a fireplace down there, and the other thing was he let us smoke cigars in his basement. So it was the perfect place to just drink away the gray sky blues. And probably not the healthiest way to do it, and I'm not telling you to drink away the gray sky blues. I'm just telling you, for those of you that do that, I've been there, I've done that, I know that feeling, and I have empathy. I can empathize with where you're at. So that's why I'm hoping this podcast might help brighten your days a little bit in some way. And thinking about that, so that was Jake the lawn kid. If you guys, most of you that listen to this know who Jake is. So Eric is his dad, and that's one of my good friends. And, that was one of the reasons why we had such a great neighborhood, was because we had great neighbors. But it was really cool now over the years to see Jake growing up. And, now he's a man. He's 19 years old now. He's got a business going. He's got a He's got his YouTube channel. He's got a lot of stuff going on social media, and he's this influencer thing. And by the way, those of you that look at that, if you go to any middle school or high school right now and you ask the kids, what do you want to do when you grow up? The majority of them are going to say they want to be a TikToker or a YouTuber or an Instagrammer or whatever else. They want to be that influencer. And so it's really cool to know Jake and see that that's what he's doing, and he's doing it within a niche, within a vertical that he loves of lawn care. And then his whole entrepreneurial spirit, super inspiring to me. And that's one of the other things, at GIE, I get to meet a lot of people that have been inspired, DIYers that were inspired so much that they actually took and made lawn care become a living for them. That's one of the things about GIE that I love, is to meet folks like that and realize, wow, I might have had some small bit of inspiring you or giving you confidence or teaching you some numbers or some math that opened up windows of understanding for you so you could move forward and you could start your business. And so I love stuff like that. And actually this week, we had two friends come in town. One, Dan the Lawn Man from Broward County, that's South Florida, down towards Miami. He came over and went fishing with me and Brett, and we got to talk to him a little bit. And that's what he is. He's a DIYer, has a day job, but his lawn started looking really good, and he had friends that would say, hey, can you help me with my lawn? And he would say, sure. And then those friends would recommend their neighbors and their friends, and all of a sudden now this guy has like a few accounts that he's doing on the side, like a side hustle, Dan does, and he's taking care of accounts. Now, he's not spraying chems and stuff like that. He's not licensed, but he's, working with what he can, and he's doing proper mowing practices, and he's trimming bushes, and he's just doing all of this. It's like a side hustle. And I just love it. And I just love spending time with him and talking to him and seeing how his DIY passion has inspired a little bit of entrepreneurship in him to start his own gig. That is super cool. And it was just really cool to connect with him. And he's become a friend now, and we exchanged cigars. So we're definitely friends. Or he gave me cigars. I didn't give him cigars. Dan, I owe you a cigar, but he gave me a couple two Tre Good Fuentes so far by there. So, but it's just really cool to meet folks like that and connect and make friends. And then again, a fellow YouTuber at that point. And then also my friend Craig Martin, who is one of our Facebook moderators, but I'd never met him in person. He came in town, him and his wife, Mackenzie, they're newlyweds. They just got married. They're honeymooning close to here, and they came over to hang out with me twice on their honeymoon. So, from whatever perspective you're looking at, that could either be the best move of your life, starting your honeymoon off with lawn care nut stuff, or it could be the worst move of your life. You never know, but no, they're super cool people. They hung out. We talked a little bit, we went to lunch, and same thing. Now, Craig's done landscaping and stuff like that before. He's going into law enforcement. He's done a lot of different things in his life. And you should go check out his channel, The Pursuit of Growth. I'll link both of those below if you're on YouTube, but you can search Dan the Lawn Man or The Pursuit of Growth. So Craig is The Pursuit of Growth, and he's got a great story to tell that you should look at. He's real transparent with that, and it's really awesome and inspiring. But on top of what he's doing, he has now taken on the DIY to another level, where he actually did get licensed in New Jersey, and he's got his license, and he's got a few clients and customers. He's treating their lawns, so he's taken that DIY passion to the point where he's licensed now, and he's continuing to get licensed, and he's growing. And he's looking at expanding his business. What do I do next for spray tanks and this and that? And we had discussions like that. So just that kind of stuff. I'm wondering how many of the rest of you are out there that you've been inspired for some kind of side hustle in lawn care. And what if it's not in lawn care? What if it's in anything else? I wonder how many of you I can inspire in that way. And so I want to talk also about something to think about right now in the position that we're in as a country. And we're not getting into politics here, but just one of the things I'm hearing across the country as I talk to business owners and people and everyone else and just keep my ears open is that right now it's really hard to find employees in a lot of places. And I know you've heard that too, especially in labor type jobs, service jobs. So that's happening to the landscape industry. It's very hard to find employees right now. So I say there's two things to think about here. There's one case of y'all that have been thinking about stepping out on your own as a side hustle, or your side lawn care wise, or your side hustle lawn care is already going and you've been thinking about taking it full time. So that's two of you. I'm going to step out and start my side hustle, or my side hustle is going so well that I'm wondering when to take the leap to go full time. I would say now is a good time for either one of those. And here's why. If the big companies can't find labor, then that means they're not going to be able to take on as many new customers as they could in the past. And therefore, it's an opening for a new business, because when you're a one-man shop, you're your own labor. So when you're first starting out, or when you're new, and by the way, you can jump off and handle, even if your side hustle's already going, you can still have a really nice sized business, one-man operator if you're spraying. But just think about it. So you jump off now when labor is a shortage, but you are your own labor and you won't need any help for at least a year or two, right? So now is a good time to think about doing that. When labor is short, you are your own labor. Maybe the competition will be a little bit lower. Just something I was kind of looking at in a little different of a light there. But I think this next point is even more important because there's a lot of you that, and by the way, that entrepreneurial thing, that could be some of you have a side hustle as a plumber or a carpenter or or an electrician. There's a lot of things that a lot of y'all have as side hustles that you might be looking to move to right now. And now with a labor shortage or a trouble finding labor, this may be a time to maximize your own labor. But then the second piece of you are those that maybe you're not entrepreneurial, maybe you don't want to be on your own, but you know that you as a laborer, you're worth more. I would talk to those of you that are younger, 18, 19, 20. I remember when I was younger like that, I knew there was certain jobs I would never get just because of my age. It just wouldn't happen. Didn't have the experience, didn't have the age. They're just certain jobs, whatever they are, higher end labor jobs, things like this, even management jobs where you won't be considered. But now if there's a labor shortage, I would say for those of you that aren't the entrepreneurial type, but you're the type to climb the corporate ladder, which is also an excellent way to go. Maybe some of you are younger. You want to get your 10,000 hours of experience as an electrician or as a HVAC repair or whatever. I'm talking trades because I love the trades, but maybe you want to get your 10,000 hours of experience, right? But when you're 18 years old, no one would have given you a chance. Well, guess what? They will now because they need you. So you go in and you apply for the jobs that you don't think you should get or that you wouldn't get because of your age or lack of experience. You should go apply for those jobs and tell them, hey, no one else wants to work. I want to work. And that's the one thing I have right now is an advantage over everybody else. All the guys with all the experience that don't want to work, I have no experience, but I do want to work. And so I'm asking you to take a chance on me, and I'll take a chance on you, and I will learn on the job. I will learn everything I can so that when they all come back, I'll be, already be inserted in this company. I'll already be moving up. You know what I'm saying, right? You getting the idea? Take advantage of that. If you're somebody that's not that person that doesn't want to work, if you're a hustler, then go and apply for the jobs that you would never get because they got to have somebody, and then you go in there and shine and kill it and really show off and show what you're made of. And like I said, when all those people do finally come back, you'll be their boss. So, I don't know. Maybe that's a little encouraging to a couple of different kinds of y'all. I hope it is. I know there's a lot of you out there that are encouraged by some of the things that you see or that I do and that I say. And so if you want to give me feedback that way, hit me up on Twitter. That's the best place to give me any kind of feedback. I think I could get a little smoother with the delivery on these points. I have like 4 pages of notes in front of me that I didn't even look at. But I wanted to try to get those concepts across and have them flow well. And have them be meaningful to you. So tweet me, ALLYNPAUL, Alan Paul, at Alan Paul. Tweet me, let me know, good or bad. No, don't give me anything bad. I got enough bad stuff coming across my face. Just send me something good if you like that kind of content. So, but I am going to link both of those guys below, Dan the Lawn Man and Craig Martin in the Pursuit of Growth. I'll link those below. Look those up, support those guys. Really like seeing what they're doing. And also, of course, my good buddy, Jake the Lawn Kid, always support him. Give him some good vibes. So with that, I think let's run into me and Brett talking now. Let's run into that and see what we get out of a little GIE Expo download. Here you go. All right, y'all. Welcome to Lawns Across America. This is my friend Brett Goodyear from Brett's Grasscapades.
Yes, sir.
And we are actually here because we work together at Yard Mastery, but what we wanted to do today was talk to you guys about some of the things we saw at the GIE Expo this year and kind of discuss trends or where we think stuff's going. So in case you don't know what the GIE Expo is, it is basically the green industry expo. It's green industry all getting together. It's their yearly convention. So you have everybody there from vendors that sell software to the lawn and landscape industry, people that sell blocks and bricks to the landscape industry, fertilizer, and then, of course, equipment and everything in between.
So the big question, though, is it's GIE, right?
Right.
But we call it the GIE Expo. So is it the Green Industry Expo, or are we just saying it wrong?
So what it is I believe it is the GIE Plus Expo because it's a couple of different shows combined.
So what does the E stand for?
So it's the Green Industry Expo plus I think it's the Hardscape Expedition or something like that. So that's why it's 2 expos combined, and it might actually be 3 or 4. I mean, obviously they have a branding problem. So, But there's been some rumors that next year it's going to be in other places. And so one of the shows, and I don't know which one it is, Landscape Professionals Association or somebody is splitting off, and they're doing something in
Right, they're calling it the
Orlando
Equip Expo.
So that's staying in Louisville.
So is that where all of the equipment and stuff is staying there in Louisville?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And I still think a lot of the companies that go to the Landscape Association thing, they'll also come to the GIE also because they all share customers, right? Guys that buy lawnmowers and spray equipment also buy fertilizer and lawn chems. You know, so
makes sense.
They kind of all, and they also buy lawnmower blades, and they also buy software, and they also buy replacement seats for their mowers, and whatever other things that you see at the expo. So, now, why are DIYers there though, Brett? Why is that?
I really don't know. Well,
because we like to look at equipment,
right? I mean, yeah, most everything at GIE was like, $20,000-$30,000 pieces of equipment.
Right.
So I really don't know why were we
Did you get that idea too that like even in the big booths, and I'm not going to name any companies, but they all do it. So yeah, they got their big giant mowers out front, their biggest, coolest, newest thing. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit more about autonomous and electric. That's all out front. And then in the back corner, that's where they have like 2 push mowers and some weed whackers for the DIYer.
There was a handful of companies that had homeowner mowers, but yeah, honestly, some of the big companies that were there didn't even have any homeowner stuff.
I did notice that this year. Like, they didn't even try.
I guess if you look at it like Skag, they don't market to homeowners anyways.
No, I don't think so.
Or Exmark or any of these other, really commercial focused companies. They're focused 100% on commercial. So it makes sense that they wouldn't have any residential stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of what this show is all about. So, but I wonder how many guys are out there, or girls, but how many entrepreneurs are out there that have 40 customers. They're just starting out. It's a side business for them, like it is for so many, and they're using residential equipment when they start out. So I think that's another reason why they might have some residential stuff there. Can kind of compare the two. But anyway, I wanted to talk mostly today about trends. So,
yep. Shoot.
When we were there, and this was your first year, right?
This was my first year at GIE.
Why don't you give your overview? What do you think?
I loved the show. The show was awesome. Tons of new and exciting things for me as somebody who is a avid DIYer. So it was cool to see the trends across the board, and there definitely was trends, right? Every single company seemed to have a lot of the same things, and just their own take on it. So it was cool to see all the different trends and all the different ways that the different companies were approaching things. And then it was also really cool to see, like I was talking about, the stuff outside of just lawnmowers. There was a lot of cool landscape lighting and the hardscape stuff. I mean, I'm never going to do anything with the hardscape stuff personally, but it's super cool to see that equipment. So I like the show overall, and it was great for us as YouTubers. It's where we all get together and we get to see all of our friends. So
yeah, I totally agree.
That's to me the best part of GIE was hanging out with my buddies that I talk to online all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's cool to hang out with them and also to experience equipment that we wouldn't get to experience anywhere else as a DIYer.
Right.
Like I don't ever get to ride every zero turn that some company has, but you can do that there. And I think it's important because so many DIYers are now buying that prosumer line of equipment. And some companies have gone all in. Toro has a complete prosumer line. That's what the Titan is. The Titan zero turn. That's like a prosumer. It's for the big landowner or the pro. You can go either way. So it's kind of cool to see that. But yeah, getting together with everybody, seeing, there was a lot of real mower companies there, weren't there? Or did you see not as many this year? It was your first year.
There was no real mower companies there except for 2. There were 2. One being Swardman. Swardman was there in the Landsey booth. And then McLean had a booth that was about as big as this table.
So no California Trimmer, because I know they were there 2 years ago.
I did not see Cal Trimmer. They may have been there. They may have been hiding somewhere. So one thing I didn't realize was just how big it is. So I swear I went to every single booth and touched every corner of everything that was in that convention center. But then over the last week or two, I've been watching all these guys' recaps and stuff, and I'm seeing stuff that I didn't even see. I'm like, wait, they were there? I didn't see them. So as somebody who went there for the first time, it was so much to take in that I bounced around like a ping pong ball, and I think I missed a lot of cool things.
I've been the same way. I don't think I've ever seen, this was my third year. I don't think I've ever seen everything on that floor, ever.
I don't know if there's a way to see it all.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we were there. We got in early on vendor passes, so we could get in earlier than the general public, and we still didn't see everything.
And that goes back to the people, right? So I would see pictures later on. I'm like, oh, I missed this person or I missed that person. Where were they? I felt like I was all over the place walking, and I still couldn't even run into everybody.
Yeah, no, I don't know that there's a way to take everything in.
Well, that's why, just so you guys know, in the future, anybody that's listening here or watching that's a DIYer, so when I say that, and I say a DIY creator, I mean it that way. We did a meetup this year at the GIE, and for the first time, I wanted to do something that recognized just the DIY creators, because the pro guys have had a meetup for many, many years. They started at a pizza shack, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, and that's now developed into this thing. I don't know how many people they have. They used to rent that cave out that's there. Now they rented out some big distillery place. They get several hundred people. Anyway, they've been doing a meetup for pros for a long time. And when I say pros, pro creators, and I say professional creators, I'm talking about mowing guys, spray guys. They've had a meetup for them and their creators, and then just basically anybody that followed them or watched them was also welcome.
I think Paul told me they had almost 1,000 people.
1,000, yeah. I mean, it's a lot. They used to do this big cave thing, and they sold that out.
Did you see the post that he posted where he showed there was a line like all the way around the block?
Yeah.
They had that many people.
That's cool. And like I said, they've been cultivating that community for a long time. And again, it's not a community of only creators, but it's a community of creators and their fans or followers or whatever. And so I wanted to do something similar for DIY for the first time this year. And Susie planned that. She's our affiliate manager. And
my smoking hot wife.
Yeah, so she knows Brett pretty well. And but she did a great job. I just wasn't sure what to expect, and we had a small budget, so she found this place called Flying Axes, which is the axe throwing, which is a cool trend now. Anybody that goes to any kind of Christian church, you've had the mobile axe trailer show up for your men's night for sure. And I thought that was funny. But it's like 3 people laughing. But so with that, though.
Nobody's laughing.
Nobody. I wanted to do that for the DIYers, and it went off great, and we invited just affiliates this time. Just to kind of limit the audience. We had some of our partners there, Ecologel, Greene County Fertilizer, and My Soil, Predictive Nutrient Solutions. They were there. It was a great time. Next year, we're going to go bigger. And so next year, what we're going to do is we're going to open it up to any creator that is a DIY creator that is at GIE. So not yet. We're not doing the full meetup thing for just anybody yet. But we're going to get there. I just want to make sure that as we grow it, we can make sure that it stays first class like it was this year. So did you have a good time, though?
No, it was awesome.
Yeah, so it was fun. Pretty cool to get DIY recognized. I think, in general, you guys have heard me say this before, DIY is really leading the way in the green industry, in my opinion. I think we are the ones that are pushing the trends just as much or more than the pros.
Well, I mean, you got to think about the sheer number of DIY people, right? You know, how many more homeowners are there than commercial operators?
That's right.
Like,
and with
millions.
With the advent of the internet, I love talking about this because so before the internet, there was no transparency. So whatever the pros did, and I'm not bagging on you if you're a lawn pro. That's not the case. We're just talking about the changes to the green industry. If you were a mowing guy, or especially if you were a fert and squirt guy, you had the keys to the kingdom and you had all the knowledge, and there really wasn't a way for anyone to find out on their own how to take care of their lawn. There wasn't a lot out there. You could buy a book, like a real book, like Lawn Care for Dummies kind of things. Did you ever go through that trend when you were younger? You bought all the dummies books?
No, I don't like to read.
Oh, right. So before there was an internet, well, we had internet, but before it was on mobile phones, we used to actually buy books. But that's how I learned how to do a lot of things was through those dummies books. Well, now it's on YouTube. So now the homeowner can go in and say, well, lawn care really isn't that difficult. Oh, by the way, I can invest in better, more expensive equipment. I can get access to these products, all of that. But here's the difference. The professional, when he finds a new product that works or a new method that works or a top-selling lawnmower that gives a better cut or saves him time in his, whatever it is, they hide that secret because they don't want that to get out, right? Because that's that'll help.
Got to have the edge on the competition.
Sure, and I don't blame them. That's their competitor, right? Well, the DIYer is the opposite. We want to brag about it. Oh, look, I found this new mower. Look at how good it cuts. It cuts way lower than everybody else's. It's got, or way higher or,
Lower.
Yeah, whatever it is. I'm just saying we brag about it and we put it everywhere. So it's like free advertising for these companies. And so that's why the ones that are really understanding that, I think they're doing really well because they understand the power that DIY has if they'll just invest in us in some way.
I agree.
Yeah, so I think by having a presence that Yard Mastery supports there, I think we help that overall. Now, what does that lead to? I don't know. I have no idea one day. But we'll see. But let's get into some trends now, Brett. So there are basically two trends, and you pick which one you want to talk about first, that we both have noticed, and not just us, anybody that was at the show with us, we talked about it.
Right. I think anybody who went to GIE and really anybody who's involved in this community at all already knows the big trend, thanks to our good friends over in California, is battery technology. There is a huge push into battery technology to where literally every single company that was there with equipment had some sort of battery line. And the cool thing was seeing really just how diverse the battery line is, right? There was very entry-level battery stuff to, tens and tens of thousands of dollars, zero turns, and battery mowers that they control with remote control.
So that's the other piece. That's the autonomous. So there's the electric or battery, and then there's autonomous, and then the crossover between the two.
Yeah, so there is a crossover, but there are definitely
differences for sure.
Differences.
Yeah.
But everybody's offering battery offerings now. Like I said, from basic entry level homeowner, bare bones basic that'll handle a very small lot to, there's 60-inch, 72-inch zero turns, standers, and other things like that are all battery.
So here's the thing with that. This is one where, as DIYers, we are not as affected by this as the professionals. And we talked about California making their legislation. And I always tell people a lot of this was a discussion that was had also quite a bit at the expo, was about that law and I haven't read it, and I want to do that. It's on my to-do list actually to read the actual rule.
Yeah, I haven't looked into what it actually. I know it. Yeah, it says that they're not selling them anymore by 2024. Okay. I think. But I'm not sure beyond that. I don't know. I don't know if they're going more in depth where they're saying, 2024, you're done. No more.
Even your old equipment, whatever, you can't service it.
I don't know that it's that way, but I'm not sure. Like you said, I haven't read it.
So it's interesting to think about. I'm gonna read it because I want to. I want to be that guy that says, no, I actually read this thing, and just see what's in there. But it also then, because usually when these things happen, they shape the legislation for everyone else to follow. So it'll be interesting to know. But where this affects the pros more than us is in that we take care of one small lawn. So really the battery technology that we have available to us right now is on par with gas or better in a lot of cases. And we're good. Like, we literally have to sacrifice nothing as DIYers to switch to battery.
Right. Especially when you're talking DIYer. About handheld stuff.
Okay.
I think for sure when you're talking about string trimmers and edgers and blowers and even for
chainsaw.
Yeah, even for most homeowners, I would say chainsaws, hedge trimmers, that kind of stuff. The technology is there, and there's literally, for 99% of you, going to be no problem going electric.
Correct. And that's because we have one lawn to care for, right?
Right.
5,000 square foot, 7,000 maybe average.
Even up to like an acre, sure. I would argue.
I agree.
You're good with the current battery technology.
Yep. So we can switch over now, and I pretty much have. Not in mower. I'm still using my Toro Super Recycler gas, but for all the handheld, I'm 100% pretty much Ego right now.
Yep.
You know,
I agree. I'm the same way. I haven't used a gas string trimmer in at least 2 years.
I think the only time, we were talking about this the other day, the only time I use a gas handheld anymore is in a blower, and it's because the blower I have battery powered. It has 2 speeds. It has a regular speed and then a ludicrous speed.
But do you ever use the regular speed?
Never. I'm always on max.
Does anyone ever use the
we both don't. We don't ever use the low speed.
When I put my battery in, I put the cruise control all the way up, and then I just hold down the turbo button.
Yeah, turbo. There you go. I think mine is stuck there. I don't think it'll go back to the low anymore. I think it's stuck. So when you do that, though, you'll burn a battery up on a blower
fast.
like 6 minutes.
Fast.
So I do have to have gas there for the backup, or I just have to charge more batteries. So here's another thing I was thinking about. So I have a lot of batteries because of just building them up, but I'm too lazy to charge them. So what happens is let's say my Ego, I have 3 batteries, and I only need a half a battery to do my whole lawn, edge, and weed whack. Barely, even a half a battery. So what happens is I have 3 batteries, so when one goes out, I just pop a new charged one in, but I'm too lazy. Think about this.
So what you're saying
is to put
it
back on the charger.
You're not disciplined enough to
I'm not.
walk over and always have one on the battery.
Nope.
And when you run out of battery, you take that battery over to the charger where you already have to walk.
Don't do it.
So that's your problem.
Yes, so I get to the end of the third battery.
Issue, but I literally always swap.
I'm that lazy.
But you're already walking there.
I'm already taking a battery off the charger.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You have to go there to get the battery that's on the charger.
I don't know. I don't do it. So I end up I get like 2 weeks out of 3 batteries or whatever it is because I mow so much. And then I'm like, dang, now I got to wait 45 minutes. Where with gas, I could get a whole gallon of that, so that it would last me like a year. So it wouldn't happen. So gas, I know that sounds weird, doesn't it? I can't be the only person that lets all my batteries die.
So I've gotten to the point where I only use gas in my lawn mowers. My real mowers are all gas mowers, and I've gotten to the point where anybody who has like a Toro Greensmaster or any of those kind of mowers, they're like incredibly efficient on fuel. Like I literally,
they're heavy too.
They're super heavy, but I mow every other day, and I literally can go a month without having to put more fuel in. And so because I use battery for everything else, there's a lot of times that I'll fill my mower up and use the last of the gas in the gas can. And then because it's like a month before I have to fill up again, I forget that I don't have gas anymore because I use battery stuff for the rest of the things, and I never have gas in my gas can anymore because of battery technology.
So now, but see, then when you need the gas, you have to run and get the gas.
Exactly. So it's super inconvenient.
So, but with the battery, I have to sit and wait 45 minutes.
Not if you have a battery on the charger.
Well, that's true.
So that's your fault.
It is.
That's as bad a planning as me not putting my gas can into my truck when I run out of gas.
So I need y'all to tweet me.
Same thing.
It's ALLYNPAUL, Alan Paul. Tweet me. Am I the only one that allows my batteries to run all the way out without putting them back on the charger? I'm just curious.
I always put it back on the charger. And I have like 4 chargers. You have enough tools that you have enough chargers, right? So you should always have at least 1 battery on the charger, if not 2.
My solution is to just buy more batteries and then just run them all down.
But I mean, it's literally the same thing. You're doing the same thing.
You think?
It's not going to help you. Having an extra battery that's dead is not going to help you.
Not. So with the Pro, though, so let's talk about it. So the Professional now, different thing. They got to be out on the truck all day.
Right.
So, handheld, I saw some equipment manufacturers that actually had like backpack.
Yeah, so there
was that would hook in.
There was one I specifically that was directly across.
That was
from
a
the
French
Green
company.
County.
They were French.
Their stuff looked super cool. Like you said, it had a backpack and then like an umbilical cord
that
you plug in, and it could
very
swap,
futuristic looking.
You could swap from, a string trimmer to an edger to a blower or whatever, like super cool technology.
But I don't know how that really helps a guy that's going, doing 10 lawns a day, lawn to lawn to lawn. But it may be a guy that's doing a university and he's going to go out with his string trimmer way out and he's got to be out on it. I don't know.
I mean, it gives you the ability to have a bigger battery and not have to hold it. Because like you've got, what's the biggest battery that you have? Like a 5 amp hour?
Yeah, I have
7.5 amp hour?
Whatever the Fat Toro one is.
So I've got, so I think it's a 7.5 amp hour battery. How heavy is that battery? Have you put that on a string trimmer or in a blower? Like, it's like this. Mm-hmm. So if you're out there in the field and you're mowing or you're string trimming or you're blowing off, 1,000-foot run at a university or something like that, it would be terrible because that battery is so heavy. Mm-hmm. But if you have it on your back, then you could put an even bigger battery in there, and it's not that big of a deal. It's on a little backpack because while holding it in your hand, it's heavy. In a backpack, it's not bad.
No, it's not. So but then let's think about that professional that's doing the 10 lawns a day. What if he just had, and like I said, at home with my Ego, it takes me about a half a battery, 3/4 of a battery to do my lawn, edge and weed whack.
Right.
So if he's doing 10 lawns a day, he can carry 10 batteries with him. And
he's just got a bank of batteries.
I would think. So that's what I mean. But these are the decisions they have to make. And now let's talk about when you get to the actual mower. So now, they don't, we talk about the Ego walk behind. There's actually a company that's what they use. I can't think of the name. I saw one of their trucks the other day. It's an all electric mowing company, and they use Ego stuff.
Is that a local company?
That's a franchise, actually.
Oh,
I'll look it up, put it on screen if I can find it. But anyway, the Ego walk behind is a great mower, but you're not doing 10 lawns a day with that. I don't think.
I wouldn't want to do more than my own personal lawn with that.
Right. So now you got to get into, Toro has a walk behind battery mower. That's a commercial. But then you get up into like the 0 turns that they released. And now they have big standers that are full battery that the battery can go all day. So now you're talking about a larger technology. I got to tour Toro a few weeks ago, and they showed that they created their own battery. I don't know if the term is bank or whatever, but they showed their cells, and they were like, we created these. It's got our technology in it that we run, whatever that means. I don't know anything. I'm not Elon Musk.
So how long? You said all day. What does
so
all day mean? Does it mean
I don't know
5
the
hours run time?
No, I think it's literally I don't know. I guess I should get more into it. But the idea is that you wouldn't have to recharge this except at night when you get home. But those mowers cost $25,000, so you have to think.
So what does a comparable gas mower cost?
So this is not a great comparison, but we were looking at those standards for DeWalt. What do you say those were? $8,900 for like a 54-inch stander?
Right, I think something like that.
Okay, so $89,000, and that's
a DeWalt.
$9,000
to $10,000.
That's a highly overpriced DeWalt made by MTD that you're paying for the yellow paint, in my opinion. That's an interesting one, by the way. DeWalt, well-known as a battery company, has gas-powered standers. Kind of interesting that saw that.
I mean, it looked like a solid mower.
Well, they're going for a certain market, right? They're going for the contractor type of dude that maybe or maybe they're going for the fireman that mows lawns on the side and he has DeWalt tools at home because he's doing contractor work and stuff.
So he's a yellow and black guy.
Correct. And he trusts DeWalt, and so he knows the name, so he goes for what he knows. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Sense.
That's great branding.
That's quality tools.
Yeah. But so back to the price thing. So $25,000 for that stander versus a gas-powered stander at $9,000. Yeah. So where's that trade-off? And are you going to get 3 times the use? I don't know. It's an investment now for them. That's what I want to get at.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely an investment now. But if you look at it, we're both old enough to remember when flat screen TVs came out, right?
Yeah.
You remember when the first flat screen TV came out, and literally it was like a 35-inch flat screen TV was like $10,000.
It was still pretty thick too.
Like, yeah, I mean they're like this thick.
Yeah.
They're like $10,000. My dad bought one. And he thought it was the coolest thing ever. He's like, look at the picture quality on this thing. Look, and it's only this wide. Like, and it was super expensive, and only a handful of people were the early adopters that bought into it. But I mean, have you been to a Walmart lately and walked by the TV section now? Like, you can literally buy a 55-inch 4K TV for like $150.
Can you really?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Like they're cheap. So I think we're gonna have the same. What are you doing?
No, go ahead.
I think we're going to have this same kind of thing happen with battery technology, where it goes from being something that only the early adopters who are hardcore and all in, or the people that are forced to buy it, like people that are in states that are going to mandate it, are going to be buying it. But over the next 5 to 10 years, I bet they get that price down to where it's fairly comparable to what you're paying for the gas equivalent right now.
They're going to have to, because, and that's where I was going to go back to reading this law. So I bet you, and we'll come back after I read it. This is literally late, like 8 o'clock at night, drinking some kratom tea. This is that kind of reading. But shout out to my kratom heads out there. But anyway, so usually when they make this first legislation, there's always government money, subsidy to go along with it. In other words, if you adopt first, there is some sort of subsidy money or co-op money you can get.
Right.
So I'm going to find out if that's in there.
Whether it's a grant or a tax rebate.
Because they realize that it's going to be more expensive. So let's hope that that's there. And if it's there and I read it and I find it, I'll let you guys know.
So I think if you're one of those people that is in a state that they're mandating that, and you know that it's coming up, I would definitely read into what that law says and then look into the grants. Because, you know, having been to GIE now and having driven some of the technology that they've got out, I think that it's comparable to the gas stuff now. It's definitely got the same sort of power, and there are some upsides to it. So I think if you're an early adopter, you can leverage that to people who care about that.
That's right.
You know, if you leverage that to your customers and say, hey, look, you know, we're an early adopter. We are 100% green. We are all battery, and not just the green angle. I think you can also leverage it to the commercial clients who have a big property and don't want loud mowers going around in the middle of the day, because they're significantly quieter than the gas options.
For sure. And I think that's where you're going to win, is you use this as a marketing push and you tell people, yeah, the green is there, but for sure it's that quiet. Because think about how the world has changed. I'm thinking about, I mean, obviously hotels, resort properties, things like that. That's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
But what about even people now that work from home that are having Zoom calls all day? And so you literally now can disturb people's very important calls, because a zero turn right outside your office window at home is loud.
Right, but even like a string trimmer
or weed whacker, right?
You're using your weed whacker or your string trimmer, your edger, and you're right there by somebody's window. Like,
yeah, and they're having their Zoom call. They're trying to do whatever.
It's way quieter. I don't know when my neighbor is out using his electric stuff, but I know I can hear from my bedroom when my neighbor 5 houses down is using his blower.
So do you get talked to about it? About the loudness of the neighborhood?
No.
So I wonder if my wife is the only one, but she likes to let me know how loud the neighborhood is.
No, my wife's used to it.
Okay. See, I like the sound. I'm wondering though.
I'm sure. Think about like HOA communities. A lot of HOA communities probably are going to start pushing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, here where's retirement, people are home all day.
So let's say you're a commercial guy and you're going to bid an HOA community. You can use that.
There you go.
You can leverage that and say, hey, you know what? I know you guys care about, you know, your community not being loud and not having a bunch of noise pollution. We're going to come in, and my guys only use electric equipment. We only use stuff that's going to be quieter. The decibel rating on it is way lower. I think you can definitely leverage that for marketing.
Well, and that it's even the idle. I was thinking about this just now. Like when you're using a weed whacker or a blower or anything, when you're idling, walking between spots, it's literally off. Whereas the gas powered is still idling and making noise. So even if it's not lower decibels, it's just lower amount of noise in general. So
and so going back to like a homeowner perspective, if you're somebody who, I tore my rotator cuff in my shoulder at one point, and so yanking on the string for a freaking string trimmer to start it, like there's a lot of times, especially when I lived in Utah and you'd winterize your equipment and then bring it back out in the spring. Inevitably, it takes like 3 days to get it to start working again. And there was times where I'm like, I'm gonna blow my shoulder out again yanking on a string trimmer. The convenience factor for battery is off the charts.
It really is.
I don't know about you, but I use my blower every single day.
To blow out your garage?
Yeah, because in Florida, it's always windy, and there's always crap blowing into my garage, and I'm constantly, even if I don't mow or do anything for the day, I'll get my blower and I'll blow out the garage real quick. It takes 5 minutes.
Doesn't it feel good to do you do the blow under?
Oh,
you know what the blow under is? So you got all that stuff in your garage, but the little trails between.
You hit the right
bounce
angle.
It off the wall.
And it'll go off the wall, and now it's going under here, and it's going up this and under that.
And you can see it, and then it gets caught in the corner, so you know you got to plunge into the corner and blow all the stuff out of the corner. You ever have a lizard skeleton fly out from the corner?
They're everywhere here. But no, so I listen, I don't know that I'll ever own another gas blower for sure.
Well, that's a bold move there, Cotton. Never.
I literally got rid of my gas blower that and it blew even harder than my battery blower.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's so much more convenient. Like I'll take dealing with a little bit less power to just be able to slap on a battery and go.
I wonder how guys that have to deal with leaves feel about that. I guess, again, it's all about the batteries and the commitment, because that's the thing. Once you commit, we're fortunate. We get so much free stuff that I don't have to commit to one line of electric equipment. But for most people, you do. You got to decide, well, I mean, what am I going with? Because the batteries are such an investment. That's one of the things I think holds a lot of companies back or why so many of them try to get into the game, because they realize it opens them up to so many other things, drills and whatever else.
So, and I think
like
now,
Ryobi has,
Yeah, battery technology has come a long ways. It used to be, I've been a big DeWalt guy for forever, and I had the 18-volt DeWalt tools with the old clunky batteries, and I've got the 20-volt tools now. And the older ones, the 18-volt ones, at some point you kind of understood as an owner of those that the batteries were just going to die.
They just won't work anymore.
One day you're going to put it on the charger and the light's just going to blink red forever, and you're going to take it off of there and it's not going to work. But with the new battery technology, be it Toro, be it Ego, Makita, whatever, have you experienced a battery dying on you lately?
You mean where it just doesn't work anymore?
It's not going to take a charge?
No.
I think the technology has come a long way with that, because I'm the same way. I can't tell you the last time I had a battery that won't hold a charge anymore.
No, I haven't had that happen.
And I'm talking, I
did in the early days.
I'm on year 4 using some of my Ego tools. Yeah. Same batteries.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's, because people are worried about investing a lot of money, because you said, a battery is expensive. A battery is the biggest cost when you buy a battery tool.
Right.
You can buy, some companies, you can buy a battery string trimmer with the battery included, and it costs almost the same price as buying that battery by itself.
They all have and then they all have the bare tool option now. Right. They realize people have built up enough batteries. I don't need any more.
Yeah. So it's cool. Once you decide you're going to be on a line,
mm-hmm.
You can start buying bare tools, which I think is really cool.
Do we both agree that right now, handheld DIY, what's the number one company? Handheld DIY. Let's just say this. Let's do it this way. Not just handheld, overall battery assortment. So mower, and we'll just say 21-inch mower. So push mower. I'm just making too many criteria here. Yeah. I know. They have at least a 21-inch push mower and all the hand tools. Who's the best? So
somebody who has an entire DIY lawn care line.
Who is that? Who's the best? Who's number one leading the way?
I think the company that definitely leads the charge on that is Ego.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Tweet me if you disagree or agree.
But I caveat that by saying there are other companies that are right on their tail. There are other companies that are putting out some equipment that is just as good as the Ego stuff. But the problem with those companies is there's holes
in their
line. So while there may be a specific company that has a great string trimmer and a great blower, their mower is not as good,
mm-hmm.
or something like that. So Ego is the most well-rounded from my experience.
And it's interesting because they started as a DIY lawn company. They're not one of we sell screw guns like a Makita coming over, which I have not had a good experience with Makita in the lawn space. What about, have you had any DeWalt stuff?
So I I very early, when I was getting more into lawn care, I had a DeWalt string trimmer, and it was a 20 volt. And honestly, that was what began to convert me to battery stuff, because that string trimmer, even though it only took the 8500ths string, like the smaller string, that string trimmer was a really good string trimmer for the price. It was like $120 or something like that.
Okay.
Fairly cheap. But for me, I was a guy who had 15 DeWalt batteries laying around, and it was so nice, like I said, to just pop a battery in there that I already had. And that was what started to convert me into the battery tools. Because I was one of those guys, when we were at GIE, a lot of those commercial guys are like, "You're going to have to take my gas engine from my cold, dead hands."
I know, right?
I was one of those guys until I bought my first battery string trimmer, and I started changing my mind, because again, I'm a homeowner at my core. I've got my house now. I have 15,000 square feet of turf, and that's on the higher end side for the amount of lawn to take care of, and I still have zero issues using battery stuff. So
even with all those fences, you don't really weed whack them, according to
I hate weed whacking.
And that's so funny. That's another one. I love weed whacking.
I hate weed whacking.
I love weed whacking.
I have like 4 string trimmers.
Well, yeah, we both have string trimmer addictions.
Like I literally, and I'm not talking free ones. I do have, I've had some.
All mine are free.
I'm talking about ones that I bought. I have 3 Ego string trimmers that I purchased myself.
No, I bought my Egos. Sorry, anything I have Ego currently right now. Look at the date. I bought.
Timestamp.
Yeah.
No, I mean, because that's what I believe in so much. Like they make that good of a product. And when they put out new stuff, I'm so interested in it. Even though their old stuff still works great, I'm like, but this new one has the shaft that you can make a little longer, and you can turn it, like, super cool. And I had to buy it.
I like when they make they wrap the shaft in carbon fiber. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Ego might have some new stuff coming out this year, and you might be seeing it on my channel. Maybe. How about Milwaukee? Have you ever tried any Milwaukee stuff? I have a lot. Every time I do anything on a string trimmer, I'll get a few people that'll say, "You need to try Milwaukee." And the Millennial Farmer, when I was at his house, he has Milwaukee stuff. I didn't get to use it, but he really likes it too.
I have not personally used no, I take that back. The one Milwaukee lawn tool that I use, not those lawn tools, but lawn equipment.
Yes.
Was I had their backpack sprayer.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That thing was super cool, because they had, I don't know if you've seen it, but they have a backpack sprayer that the base is where the battery is housed, and it attaches to the tank. There's like an electrical connection to the tank, and you can take out the tank and swap it for a new tank completely independently. And the tank is connected to the wand and the hose independently of the base. So you can buy a replacement wand hose tank for that battery backpack sprayer and just swap them out. So you can be like, "Hey, this is my dedicated glyphosate tank."
Right. But only need one
and
battery
only need one.
and one base. Huh.
Super cool.
That's
it worked great. It worked great. And the only issue I had with it is it's like $400. It's expensive.
Whew.
But it worked great. But other than that, I haven't used any other Milwaukee lawn equipment. But the people that
Shout out Milwaukee. I mean,
the people that I know who use it, I think Jimmy has one.
Okay.
Jimmy really likes it. I know Ryan Knorr was using one.
He had DeWalt stuff?
No, he's got the Milwaukee stuff.
Or Milwaukee, I meant. Yes, that's right. He did a couple years ago. He
was using the Milwaukee stuff. It looked great. So I haven't seen anything negative about it.
Yeah.
And I know most people that are contractors and use Milwaukee stuff are like diehard Milwaukee people. Like they say there's the red is the best by far.
By the way, they weren't at GIE, were they?
I did not see them at GIE. I know there was a handful of companies that the COVID stuff still had them a little uneasy on
That was ego. They weren't there either.
Right, because they said what, that COVID,
they just didn't know how to plan for it. Just when things were in flux, they weren't sure how much to commit or not. It was just like a certain point where they had to not commit to it. So
right. So it was a little disappointing not to see Milwaukee or ego there.
Yeah. Let's pivot a little bit and talk about the autonomous side. So these go hand in hand, and a lot of the autonomous that I saw was really cool in that they have these very large, wide area mowers that have tracks on them that you work from a joystick. So they're literally a remote control lawnmower, but a big one on tracks, and they'll use these to mow areas that may be too dangerous to have your employee on the mower. So the sides of ditches.
Right. So they actually
inclines.
had some that they showed on like slopes, really steep slopes. And like I said, it was really cool because there's literally just a guy sitting there going, all right, moving it with his phone or a joystick or whatever. And as a company, it's not somewhere you would be comfortable putting an employee. So I think that's pretty freaking cool.
And so those come in gas and battery, and so you can get them either way.
And lots of companies are coming out with that stuff.
They are, because the other piece that it's going to then is not just for dangerous areas, but also for areas where you can actually get more done without having to have your employee on the mower. He can be doing other things as long as he's on site. So this goes into full autonomous, not just remote control.
Right. Literally where they program it via an app or on your computer or whatever, and you say, all right, hey, this 400 by 1,000 field here, it needs to be mowed. And you program in the coordinates or whatever, and it literally mows everything within that space.
So that's fully autonomous. Now, right now, for most of the professionals, what I'm understanding is the rules, laws, whatever, the autonomous technology is not at the point where you can drop the mower off and walk away. I'm talking commercial-wise.
You're talking the big wide area mowers.
Just anything commercial that's under contract that way versus residential, which we'll talk about in a minute. So currently for commercial, because you would think it'd be neat if you could have, say, 5 robot mowers that you dropped off every day at different places, and then you went back and pick them up at the end of the day and they mowed for you, right? So you can think about how that can become extremely lucrative for you. But right now the technology is not at the point where they will allow you to leave. So right now the technology, as I understand it, is where you can drop the autonomous mower off, you program it in, some work on GPS, some work on lines, whatever it is, but the employee still has to be on site or within eyesight or earshot or whatever it is of the autonomous mower. But that's still, it's number one is your employee's not stuck on that mower. It's less weight on the mower. But number two is that employee can be doing other things, policing the grounds, cleaning up, weed whacking, planting flowers, whatever. They're still on site. So that's kind of interesting. But now when you go to residential, there's a distinction because there are fully autonomous mowers. Correct. For residential. Those are all electric, though, battery.
And
there's none that are gas.
And there's a handful of companies making those mowers. So I honestly think that there's going to be a big push into that, because I think the same thing as we were talking about the battery technology coming down. Right now, the cost of entry to get into those autonomous mowers for a residential setting is pretty high.
So we talked to a couple of the companies, and I don't know how much you want to reveal, but we've been teasing it a little bit. But what does a autonomous mower run you entry level, say, covering less than 20,000 square feet?
So
wide open.
So I think there are a couple of different price points from what I understood. And there are some companies that are coming in the more entry level, and the products that they're offering can't do as much. And I think you can get into a very, very entry level mower that's going to just bumble its way around your lawn and just run into stuff and just mow. I think the cheapest one I saw was around $1,000.
Okay.
So we're talking very, very entry level, but that's still a pretty steep price to get in for a homeowner. If you're a homeowner that has a 5,000 square foot lawn, you can buy a cheap push mower for $200.
Oh, easy. But there's limitations too, even with the autonomous, because front yard, backyard, fences, gates, which I don't, you know, I'd go into that deep too. But even front yard, backyard, going across sidewalks, going across the driveway.
Right.
There's some
So if you're
limitations
getting into something that's a little bit more complex, right now the technology is there, from what I understand, but you're going to pay way more for it to get into it. So some of those higher end homeowner models that have the capability to be programmed in your phone and do other things like that, those are in the $2,000 to $3,000 mark.
Right.
So definitely more on the high end for a homeowner. But again, I really think that as technology improves, the cost for those things is going to go way down.
And so let's think about, we're highly interested in learning about these. Those of you listening may think, you guys care about autonomous mowers? We actually do.
I think that's the way that the future is going in the industry. And so for us being in the industry, we definitely need to understand that.
Well, here's where I think it comes in. I think that you and I enjoy the mow and we like mowing.
Correct.
But I actually think from my observations that is the biggest stumbling block to people is they can't keep up with the mowing. And I don't mean that they don't want to, but if you have 3 kids,
right.
What are you doing on weekends?
No, even for me, as someone who I really enjoy mowing, I enjoy lawn care. It's kind of my therapy. I get out in the lawn, and after a hard day's work hanging out with this guy, I go de-stress and mow the lawn. But there are times, I've got 3 kids. My oldest is in softball. I've got one in cheerleading, and I have a 2-year-old terrorist. And, so I don't have a lot of time. And so there's a lot of times where I'll not really be able to take care of the lawn the way it needs to really optimize the health of the lawn. And I think that the autonomous mower offers something for somebody who wants to have a nice lawn but doesn't have the time or even the desire to put that energy into it.
Mm-hmm.
I would be really interested to see how it impacts the health of a lawn.
Oh, well, we can talk a lot about that, and I want to because I watched some videos already. But what I was thinking is, you're right, it's that person that doesn't have the time to do all the mowing, but they do have the time to go out and do fertilizing 5 or 6 times a year and spray weeds 2 or 3 times. So in other words, I think there's a lot of people, we put so much emphasis on mowing because it is so important. It is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
But what if that's taken care of for you? And so then you can focus your attention on the stuff that's a little more technical, a little more challenging and more fun. Right. I mean, mowing is relaxing.
Well, and a lot of those people are already spending money on maybe a lawn service.
Right.
And how much does a lawn service cost? Let's say you're doing here in Florida specifically, where you have to have a lawn service year round. Mm-hmm. You don't have a 4 or 5 month break. Like how much is let's say an average 5 to 10,000 square foot lawn? $50 a mow.
Easy. Yeah.
So if you take that money into something that's still going to do the mow for you, and instead of mowing once a week, and maybe they come on a day where it's rainy and they rut your yard up, or maybe they come one day and they put a rock through your window.
Well, let's not hammer on those guys
anything
too hard
like that.
But yeah.
But I'm saying, now you've got something that's going to literally mow your lawn every day.
And make it thicker.
Right. And instead of going from 5 inches, because in rainy season, for example, the grass grows so fast in the rainy season here to where if you can't get to it, let's say it's raining. There's a lot of times where it's rained so much that I can't get out onto my lawn with my heavy mower because it's going to literally get stuck in the backyard. Mm-hmm. That mower being this light little, they're like 10 pounds. They're going to float along the top. They're not going to rut up your yard, and they're going to be able to mow regardless of if it's rainy or wet.
Well, and don't they shut off if it's rainy? Doesn't it have like I think
some of them
set
have
the app, right?
Right. They have sensors that you can turn them off.
Or tell it, yeah, don't.
But they're going to be able to mow when you can't mow traditionally. And they're going to be taking off, a fraction of the amount of grass that you are because they're able to mow every single day.
All day.
So, pretty cool.
So I was watching a video on YouTube with one of these autonomous mowers of a guy in England, because that's where most of these are. Is over
Yeah,
in
they're
Europe.
huge in Europe right now.
Yeah, I think he was in England. All Europeans sound like England, so sorry. But he had showed where he just had the autonomous mower. That's all he had, and it was a small area. I think it was 1,500 square feet. So this pup was mowing every hour, on the hour pretty much. And his lawn got so thick. And we always talk about that. The more you mow, the healthier lawn will grow. It's actually true. If you're always cutting the tops like this would do all the time, the lawn is going to do nothing but spread.
Especially our warm season grass
lawns.
down here.
Or your Kentucky bluegrass, right?
The grasses that spread, like, oh my gosh. I can tell you from experience with Bermuda, when you start mowing Bermuda more frequently, it just goes out.
For sure it does.
So I can only imagine putting an autonomous mower onto Bermuda and mowing more.
Can you imagine that?
I hope.
That'd be interesting.
Maybe one day.
Maybe.
It's just going to explode. So I really like the idea, and I think for somebody who really cares about their lawn but doesn't have the time, super cool idea.
Yep. One last thing to think about. I wanted to go back and talk to professionals out there. So there's a company doing this already, and I thought about if auto mowers, even though we do believe this is where a lot of things are going, and I don't know how many of you have a Roomba. Do you have a Roomba?
We do.
See?
I
don't.
It's a Eufy.
Okay, but Roomba's
Roomba's
Kleenex or Q-tip at this point to me. But I wonder...
Exactly.
I wonder what the adoption is. We should study that, what the adoption is in that arena, because I think the lawn is going to follow. But if you're a professional, you think, wow, that threatens my job. No, it doesn't, because then what you do is you should become the auto mower installer, because you got to realize that most homeowners, and let me be careful how I say this, they don't even sharpen the mower blade on their mower. They don't ever change the oil. This is the majority of folks. Not y'all listening. Y'all are advanced, but so
I don't sharpen rotary
I've
mower
seen what you do to blades
most of the time.
It's a crime. So either way, though, you could be the person that goes and sets it up for them, and then comes and maintenances it monthly. You clean it, you make, because stuff does get caught up in the wheels or whatever. You clean the base of it, you clean the this, you make sure that it's
swap the blades out.
Yeah,
that kind of
there's
stuff.
little razor blades going. So you could still make a business out of that by being that person. And by the way, then you become like a cell phone company. Boy, that's probably a terrible analogy because everybody hates cell phone companies, but. Do you sell them the unit for a profit, or do you rent them the unit and you own it? So there's a lot of ways to be able to make money.
Do you include it into a package where you say, hey, I'll still maintain everything.
Yeah, they still got a weed whack, right?
Including string trimming, edging, that kind of stuff.
But it's quicker.
But now, instead of me coming out and doing the cut, I will lease you a unit and say, I own the unit still, but you're paying for it, and I'll do all the maintenance. If it breaks, I'll fix it, all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of a business model that's something coming up?
I think it's good, because think about this. If you can handle, 60 lawns, that's 10 a day, 12 a day, depending what the size is. So you can handle 60 lawns by yourself. Well, what if you have autonomous mowers on a bunch of those, and all you're doing is weed whacking? Right. Maybe now you can handle 120 lawns.
Think of if you sell a community, right? Like an HOA or something, and you have a super tight route density where you're taking care of all of these homes. If you get one of those mowers that you can program GPS, you can have a handful of those in that community doing the whole community all the time. You know what I mean? And then you're just coming in weekly and doing the string trimming and stuff.
It's an interesting way to look at it. So it's just, I think it's cool that there's always a way. When there's change, you shouldn't be scared of it. You should embrace it and go after it first. So you're the one that's ahead.
Be the early adopter.
Early adopter, yeah. The tipping point. Read that book, Malcolm Gladwell, if you hadn't. So listen, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. It's been 56 minutes. Good conversation. You guys let me know. I keep saying tweet me. I like Twitter. Twitter is a good place to get feedback for podcasts like this, because it's just quick conversations. So tweet me, Alan Paul, ALLYNPAUL. Let me know what you think of this format, and we plan to do more stuff like this, as well as bring in other guests. So with that, Brett, thanks for joining me today. You want to give them your links? Tell them where to go to follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/Brett's Grasscapades. You can find me on the Instagram. It's just Brett Goodyear on Instagram. And I think I have a Twitter. I don't ever use it.
You're on there, Goodyear Brett or something.
Yeah, something like that. You can find me on there. I won't answer you if you talk to me on Twitter.
I tag him all the time. He never even gives me a like. It's painful. So, all right, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the lawn. All right, hope you guys enjoyed that little segment there, and look forward to a lot of content coming up from both me and Brett. and hopefully Jimmy too, on different things that have to do with battery, autonomous, semi-autonomous, all that. We're highly interested in that type of technology and what it kind of holds for the future. I think there's a lot of really cool things that'll come along with it. And so really looking forward to learning more about those technologies and showing you guys some different things as we all learn together. So last thing I wanted to do is talk to those of you that had a year where you're looking back on it and you might have considered it a failure. I know that I go through the Facebook groups right now and I see a lot of folks posting just beautiful pictures of their lawns and where they started and where they're at. And some of these transformations happened in just the fall here. Some of the transformations happened all year. But all of those are good, right? Because nobody's going to post a bad transformation. They're only posting the good. And that's great. We love seeing that. And we love to be encouraged by it and encourage those folks. And you guys know I always leave the Jeremiah GIF. That's like the Jeremiah GIF. It doesn't have the sound because that sounds weird. It's well, I don't know what it's from. I should look it up. What is the Jeremiah GIF from? Hold on. Let's just see here. I mean, I know it. Is it? I want to say it's not Richard Gere. I'm so bad. Jeremiah GIF. Jeremiah Johnson. That's what it is. Oh, come on. I'm fat-fingered now. Here we go. Jeremiah Johnson. Jeremiah. I should put some music on here. Put music on. Jeremiah Johnson. Mexican-American war veteran Jeremiah Johnson takes up the life of a mountain man, supporting himself in the Rocky Mountains as a trapper. That's it. 1972. Western adventure. I actually need to watch this movie. I've probably seen it a bazillion times when I was little and didn't know. You know, it's one of those that's just on all the time on like UHF channel 44. Let's see. Music, story. I'm trying to see who's in it. Oh, yeah. Robert Redford. Did I say Richard Gere? Oh, my gosh. Robert Redford. Good music, though. All right. So anyways, you guys know I give that Jeremiah Johnson GIF when I can to be encouraging or whatever when somebody does something fun. It's fun for me to do that. I love to talk through GIFs. It's just fun. But I know there's a bunch of y'all that look at that and go, well, I didn't have that kind of year. I failed, you know, for whatever reason. I mean, some of you might have had a bad year just because, you know, you get going, your things are going good in the spring, and then all of a sudden kids start sports, whatever. I mean, I haven't had kids in sports in a long time because mine are old and grown now, but whatever summer sports there are, right? And so all of a sudden now that mowing twice a week, can't do it. You're out on the weekends. Maybe you skip. You get one every 10 days. Lawn starts to go downhill. You're not watching it. You're not able to pay attention. Why? Because you have a family. You have things going on. You go on vacation. Your water bill gets too high. You can't I mean, all these things, right? There are a million distractions. I want you to know that that is actually the majority of folks. The majority of folks that are listening to this right now or watching this, you are not happy with your lawn this year. The majority of you, I promise. And some of that, it's not warranted. In other words, some of you, your lawns look awesome. You're just too picky. But the majority of you, I keep saying the majority too much. A lot of y'all, things got away from you for some reason and you're not happy with the way the lawn came out. Well, okay. I want you to know you're not alone. That's where I'm trying to get with this. Way overly wordy, talking way too much. I understand. But you're not alone. So many folks failed this year. So don't look at it like you're a failure, though. Just look at it like, okay, well, that was an experience. That's what I did. You know, like people running these Ironman triathlons or whatever, Spartan. I have my mentor from my last company, Joe Chura. He runs these Spartan things, and I listen to his podcast where he talks about it. And it's called the Not Almost There podcast. By the way, if you're looking for like an inspirational business type podcast, Not Almost There with Joe Chura. But he talks about the Spartan races and stuff and how he, you know, finished and all that. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't finish the Spartan races, but the first time they go through the race, now they know what to expect the next time so they can improve, right? And then they'll improve the next time. And then maybe they'll work, well, I failed at this particular obstacle, so they put more work into that. And that's kind of how lawn care is, by the way. The difference is the lawn is a living thing, and it's driven by nature, so every year is different. So it just adds another variable of challenge to it, but that's really how lawns are too. You learn a little bit this year, you learn a little bit the next year. It's like learning any relationship, like learning your spouse. I've said this a lot. There are ways that you learn to work together over time, and there are also ways where you learn to read each other. You learn to read the signs of when something's going to happen or it's not going to happen, and you'll get the same with the lawn. I can look at my lawn right now, and I can tell what it needs. I can tell if it's going to have a disease problem. Why? I can also look at the surroundings, the context. I can look at the vigor of the lawn. I can spot the vigor. I really can. And I know that sounds a little weird, but it's true. When you start to understand your crop, it's not difficult, especially because ours is a monocrop, so I'm not having to learn too much. So I just want to say, if you had a year that you thought was tough, be encouraged. Be ready for next year. Start all over again. You'll be better next year. Just get a little bit better, and eventually you might have it mastered. But I can say that I don't think so, and that's why this is such a great hobby, because it's not easily mastered. And the people that tell you that it is easy, well, I don't know. I don't find it easy, at least down here in Florida where the jungle never sleeps. So that's a whole nother thing. So a lot of Florida content coming up as well on my channel. So a lot of stuff going on. We'll run out here with a little bit of music, and hope you all have a great rest of your week. Again, give me some feedback on Twitter, Alan Paul, ALLYNPAUL, Alan Paul, at Alan Paul on Twitter. Positive feedback only, though. All right, y'all. Have a great week.